CEMetEry FAxxxxxx. CEMetEry FAxxxxx. CEMetEry FAxxxxx. CEMetEry FAxxxxx. I'm doing it the wrong way. I got this Hitachi magic wand. Does anyone else with a fluffy cat feel like they always have something in their eye and stuck to their lips, and it's because it's cat fur? Welcome. It is now September 2007. We have made it to my YouTube video about CEMetEry FAxxxxx. CEMetEry FAxxxxx. CEMetEry FAxxxxx. It's an educational video about CEMetEry FAxxxxx. CEMetEry FAxxxxx. Okay, so it wasn't until I moved to my current home location, which is undisclosed, and started going to the cemeteries here when I noticed I wanted to be a curl in here. Yes! When I noticed that at the cemeteries in town here, we have these little parts of the cemetery. There's 2 cemeteries in my town. Both of them have these little parts where it's a group of children's graves. The first one that I noticed was sunken in like a little soup bowl of children. And I was with my friend and I said, "This is the baby's cradle." And they were like, "Really?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably not. I'm not from here." We began to look at all the children's graves, and at first I thought, maybe all these kids are buried together because they were like killed in some tragic accident, like maybe a school bus crash or a fire at a school or a nursery or something like that. But I began to look at all the graves, and they were obviously spread out over decades, possibly like a century of dead babies and toddlers, and maybe some youngsters above the age of toddler. Just all these little young babies. And in the first one, they were in a little cradle. I don't know how the earth became sunken in where the babies are. I mean, it's a little creepy. But, you know, the dead have to do what they have to do, and we might not understand it. Anyway, I went to a second cemetery here in town, and I noticed that they also had this section of the cemetery where it was all dead little babies and young children. And there was even a sign at the second cemetery which said, "Babyland." No, not that Babyland. Remember them? They were good. As I am in most places, when I was at the second cemetery, I was by myself, and I didn't want to be looked at or talked to by any other living human being. This freaking guy who worked at the cemetery came up to me as if I was in a department store looking for the salt, and he said, "Did you find what you came here for?" I felt like I was going to get in trouble because I didn't come there for anything except to be myself, sit at this grave that has become my favorite, but I don't know them, and just, you know, write in my journal and stuff. I mean, how dare he? I was having a moment. So nervously I spoke to him and I was like, yeah, I just came here to write in my journal, dude. I thought I was going to be in trouble, but then he ended up talking to me, and I had a second moment at the cemetery, this time with this man who worked there, and he looked very professional, dressed nicely, but he did have some weird tattoos. And then we got to talking, and we got along pretty well, and we talked about how much we love cemeteries and we love the dead, and that's why he got into this line of work. And he was actually kind of a cool man, and a lot of cool things came out of this conversation, but I'm not really willing to disclose them here. We're getting married. Just kidding. Gay. Since I was already talking to this guy, holding in my pee, going to my van so that I could pee into a bottle, I asked him, hey, what's up with Babyland? And he said, well, Babyland is there because sometimes babies die. Some of the babies buried in Babyland are stillbirth, babies who died very young, or even children who died very young, but their parents are still living. So they don't necessarily have a family plot. So they're buried in Babyland. And he said they actually relocate these babies' remains very often. After their parents die, the baby is transported to be with their parents. So that's fact number one. And then I guess fact number two is that there are all these babies that are still buried there from, like, I mean, okay, this is California, so not that long ago. I mean, maybe the late 1800s, early 1900s. There are some babies who have been buried there for like 100 years, and they haven't been dug up and relocated to unlive with their parents because their parents haven't died yet. They're vampires. Like you and me.